Hey, yo, guys, welcome to the very first episode of Clickbait Live. I have never gone live with Clickbait, so thank you all so much for being here. And I appreciate you guys being here. There is an echo from me because I am an idiot and I didn't turn my sound down after I just told my guests to do the same. Anyways, guys, I am so excited to have you guys here. I have some really great guests today, and I hope that you guys, if you have any questions ready, that we can kind of go from there. But it's good to see you all, and let me know if you can hear me perfectly fine. This is the first time I've done Clickbait Live, and so Pegasus, thanks so much for the super chat, dude. I really truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. All right, so first and foremost, I'm going to bring in Modder Paul. Modder Paul, I'll let him basically tell you a little bit more about him, but he does a lot of different types of scam baiting as far as the methods that he uses. So I'll bring him in. So I'm just bringing him now.
Hi, guys. Hello.
All right.
Well, my channel's called Modder Paul Huckers, but you guys could call me Ray or Cousin Ray. I regularly introduce myself as Modder Paul Huckers with an older dude's voice, and then I go through my cycle of different voices, and then I finally say, and this is your friendly neighborhood Cousin Ray. I've been on YouTube since December 27th, 2016.
1916.
Yeah, it seems like it. I've been aware of I've had the urge to scam bait all the ways back as 2004, because back then a tech support pop-up would have been something that said 3,500 viruses were found on your computer. And I remember pointing to my friends at work saying, there ain't no way that web page can count that many viruses. I just kind of want to call them and tell them what I think of them. And if I had been forthcoming and thought about it, I probably would have started scam baiting earlier, but I just kind of fell into it on December 27, 2016.
Right on. Well, welcome, man. Glad to have you here. Next person I'm going to bring in is Ishmael Ali. Ishmael, how you doing, buddy?
Yes, hello there. Yes, all great. And I have been in scam baiting since 2012. Basically, I got a call in my home, and then I knew I've seen it in YouTube and all that. So I basically went for. I thought, yes, I just grabbed my phone, and that's when I started recording and start putting on YouTube. And nowadays it's very easy. We have dialer and all that, and Bob RTC, Fire RTC, text now. With this, it's a lot easier to get them as well. And this is what I've been doing since, and I enjoy doing this, and I keep mess with them, and I watch others live as well, and we do sometimes manage to make some good calls, and sometimes things get mucked up in live, but it's all right. I enjoy doing this, and we have a good laugh.
Right on, man. Right on. All right, and last but not least, I'm going to bring in Mukesh. He is, I guess you could say, he's probably the newest of all of us at scam beating himself. But he's been around a while. I know he's been very supportive. So please give, I was gonna say, please give Mukesh a hand. Please welcome Mukesh.
Yeah, thank you, Dayan. Hello, everybody on the chat. I think the first ever was Mr. Pricky with the 419 scam, and the first one, the memorable one, was this guy saying, "Don't call me again, don't call me again, don't call me again." And I watched all his, and then in the chat I used to see Skeleton Siski, so I looked him up and got into that, and IRS scammer, etc. And then I said to myself, well, I can do this, to contribute. And I think most of you know I'm Indian. So it's a different angle I would have on the Indian scammers because I understand their mentality.
All right. Well, we'll get to all this right now, guys. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you guys. Like I said before, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys are liking this. I have wanted to use this for a while because I want your comments to be shown, and I want you guys to feel free to ask questions as well, so that we can get as many. I've got some of my own questions, but definitely I want to make it as interactive as possible, because I know that you guys may have some questions that you want to know specifically about each scam baiter. So feel free to post that in the comments. Thank you so much for all of you that are here so far. So first and foremost, let's start with how and why you got into scam baiting. I know, Mater, you started kind of going into that a little bit, but if you could go into a little bit more of the how and the why you keep scam baiting as well, if you could share that.
Well, I think the primary driver for me is a combination of providing what I think is a very humorous experience. These scammers try real hard to make you think that they're the real deal, and I just being in the world of being in the tech industry, I just felt like I would have a leg up on them because there's nothing that they can blow past me that I wouldn't, be able to figure out. But I think the big one, as I watched, like Petty Pranks was the one that inspired me to start posting videos. The humor, I just loved it. I loved how he drove a credit card scammer quite angry, and I thought, that's got to be worth something because he had a lot of views, and I thought, maybe I can do something like that. But as I got into it, I started to feel the role of a scam baiter, and I started realizing that I was actually performing more than just humor. I was actually keeping scammers from doing their dirty work. And while it wasn't on the scale that I was hoping, and even to this day, I wish I had more reach to the scammers. But what can one person do? I mean, but it's this collective of scam baiters where we as a group just made me feel like I'm actually am contributing to a cause, wasting their time, and then providing education to the public at the lengths that these scammers go to take advantage of you. And I've spoken to many people that who've told me that I've passed your channel on to my mother, hope, and she says she will never fall for another scam again. So that to me is very, very important.
Yeah.
So it's a whole range of reasons that I'm finding. But I think the largest that I get out of it is the entertainment value. Um, the fact that these people change their name, pretend to be in California or New York, just to me is grounds for some of the funniest stuff. The ironic twist on this is that the act of scamming itself is a crime. So I tend to go through little miniature mood swings about what I'm doing. Sometimes I think I'm a man on a mission to save people, and then sometimes I think I'm here just to entertain people. But then I feel sometimes like I'm here to do both. So
Right.
I I that's why I liked about knowing other scam baiters, because seeing them do their thing bolsters what I'm doing, and I'm hoping that when they see me do my thing, I bolster them.
Right
But
on.
that's pretty much it. I just I I with Social Security scams and the refund scams being some of the worst. I think right now my big drive is to let these scammers know that they're not going to have an easy way of doing this, and
Yeah.
so I feel like I'm fighting a good fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's one of the things that one thing that I always feel good about is when someone says what you just said, like right at the very beginning. I passed your videos on to someone that I know and hope that they'll never get scammed again. And I think that's important. Like even if it's
Yeah.
just one person, you're making an impact, which is really good. Mukesh, how about yourself, buddy?
Yeah, same here. Paul's covered most of it, and I felt bad that the Indian community were doing these things, and it's mainly in America, and we don't get much where I am.
Mm,
And I thought I want to do something about it. I read a case about a lady who committed suicide after being scammed, and I thought that was ridiculous. And my aim is to waste as much of their time as possible, and my calls do carry on. They're not going to be 5 or 15-minute calls. I like to extend it to hours if possible.
So how did you get started though? Like, did you how did you come across scam baiting,
Well,
and what made you decide? Because look, I've seen you around for a while, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You've been around for a while. I appreciate you being in my streams, always being super supportive. But I just want to know, like, it was maybe a few months ago that you just kind of like switched and
Yeah.
you were like,
Well,
I'm gonna start calling, right?
yeah. What happened is, eventually, when at the time I went on to Discord and Bob RTC. Initially, it was Bob RTC, and I did make calls on my own. And then I had an invite from Stonewolf, so I have to thank Mr. Stonewolf for introducing me to Discord and bringing me into the TNA server. And
Okay.
TNA and Stonewolf have both been supportive. We hang out literally every evening making calls.
Yeah.
And I've made a lot of calls which I haven't posted yet, but they will come in due course.
Okay. And you have your channel's called SWAT, right?
Yeah, which is scam baiting with a twist. And I
Okay.
chose that name because at the end of the call, that's where the twist will come in. And you have to watch
Oh,
my
take it
posts
easy.
for you to see what I do.
Right on. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And
Yeah,
so and you came up with that. That's the twist. The twist comes right at the end,
at
correct?
the end. Yes, yes.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, and I've put links to all these guys' channels in the description below, so make sure you check them out. How about yourself, Ishmael? How did you come across scam baiting, and what made you decide to start?
Yes, well, I just basically I've seen some. One day I was thinking I was just searching in video. I mean, on the YouTube about the scam, and that's when I come across tax co support, and I thought, hey, and then I thought I didn't know what was going on, and eventually more I was watching, then I understand how the scam work out, and then I've seen people are call, when they get a call, people start recording and and having fun with them, and then I thought, hey, that's fun, and then I started also. I thought, okay, if I get a call, I'll do the same. Then and then slow one day I got a call, and it said PC. He said that it's PC optimizer calling from. That's my first video, and that's when I started recording. I thought, hey, yeah, I've got one, bingo, in 2012. 2012. I didn't have a
Wow.
channel. I didn't have any channel then, but then I thought this is when I first created the channel, and I started recording it, and I start it was a long call, and then I didn't even know what to say and anything like that. I was just guessing about really, and then but I still managed to kept him for an ages, and and then I uploaded it to YouTube. Well, this is how I find because I enjoy. Anyway, I prefer to do that. I enjoy, so I start going on about it, and that's it basically.
Right on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
right.
with that, what would you say, Paul? Should I call you Paul, Ray, Moder Paul? Like, what do you want, man?
Call me Ray.
M-
People call
Moder.
me Moder
Okay.
Paul. I don't mind. People call me for some reason. People call me Paul.
All
I'm
right.
like, okay,
I
well,
just called you Paul. That's what I was like. Am I calling you the right thing? I don't know. But all right. So
that's fine.
Ray, what? How would you describe like your style of baiting? And I'll ask you all this question as well, so if you guys can think about that. How would you describe like your style of scam baiting?
Well, mine's based around the characters that I've invented, like Mary Shoe Hookers. Literally, the way that Mary Shoe approaches the scam is that of an innocent but assertive young woman. She drives them up the wall by reading every word on a prompt, for example. She sometimes will steer things away with her baby. I haven't really done much with that, but I do that.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to correcting this, she's real hard on the scammers about their grammar skills because she says she's a teacher. So that's in contrast to like Uncle Dan, who's just an outright Southern cartoon. Sounds like Foghorn Leghorn. He's kind of like Mary in the way that he'll read everything on the prompt and ask much the same questions, but the scammers react to him totally different than the way they act to Mary. It's largely because his voice is deep and confronting. I've had more success with Dan because I've lightened it up a little bit, but I still do that. I done did it, yes sir, just to really jar the scammer. And then I have my Ray character, who's just really me, just being real technical with the scammer, but not in a non-technical way. Like I'll say, I noticed the URL changed after I downloaded the helpme.net thing. Why did that URL change? So I'm asking them questions I know they can't answer, and
Right.
I'm doing it just to listen to how they BS themselves. So, and of all the of the three characters, Ray's the one that really pounds it to them that they're dumb and don't know what they're doing, and it's just three different characters. There's more coming, but the primary ones are Mary Sue, Uncle Dan, and Cousin Ray.
Okay,
As
so
soon as I
you have a cast of characters that you use through your
yeah
voice changer.
yeah I bully them with Uncle Dan. I'm nice to them as Mary and sweet, but irritating. And Ray's just on ornery. I'm ornery when I'm playing Ray.
Right on. All right. So Scammer Payback wants to know what makes you angriest about scammers.
The thing that makes me the angriest is there's two things. One is when I hear what sounds to be tens, maybe 20 different scammers collecting money or getting ready to collect money in the background.
Oh, that's yeah.
Okay, that's irritating. But what really does get me is when I hear a well-spoken Indian, and when I say I shouldn't say Indian, it can be a Filipino, it can be anybody. When I hear a well-spoken scammer who obviously hasn't given enough effort to get a regular legal job, it's a shame to see someone throwing their life away like that and
Right.
living in what I call a sense of denial. Because many of the ones I talk to either know that they're doing wrong but do it anyway because they're addicted to the little bit of income that they're getting above
Yeah.
the norm. But it's just frustrating to me to see people that you could meet in an ordinary life doing work at like a bookseller or being working for a school, but here they are wasting it, ruining the lives of innocent people by
Yeah.
working for a scamming company.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just see people throwing their lives away, and it's a shame
Yeah.
because they
For
don't
sure.
just they're not just throwing their lives away; their victims' lives
Yeah.
are being damaged.
Yeah.
So I see two bad things happen: the victim that they're getting, and the scammer themselves and what they're doing to themselves.
Yeah. For sure. Hey. So Mukesh, you're Indian. You said right.
That's right.
All right.
I'm not from India. I was actually born in Africa,
Oh, nice.
and in fact, I've never been to India,
Oh,
and
okay.
I've been in the UK since the age of 10.
Okay.
So, but I'm obviously of Indian origin.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your scam baiting style. And Lori had a really great question here. She said Mukesh doesn't sound like he has an Indian accent, which in part gives them away. How do the
Yeah.
scammers not catch that about him? So if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your scam baiting style, and then also answering the question there as well.
Firstly, I have a few characters I use. I don't have any fix. I mean, probably the most popular is Rakesh Mistry, which is an Indian name. And as soon as I mention that, the scammers become a bit wary and they start asking me, and then they want to talk to me in Hindi. And
Hmm.
I say I know little Hindi, and it goes on from there. And I've got Arthur Dent from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I've got James Hamilton, and I've also used David Cameron, which is ex-Prime Minister of the UK. So I play it as it comes along. I have a voice changer, but I don't use it yet.
Yeah.
So my style is to, as I said, waste their time as long as possible. And uh, most of my calls, I advise these scammers to change their ways. And I
How do you
explain
do
to
that? How do
them,
you do that?
well, I just get chatting to them. And it's difficult to explain, but I'm a very good storyteller. So
Hmm.
you have to listen to my streams to understand how one thing leads to another. I mean, I did a call with Ishmael on Discord on his stream, and we had a medical, the medical button thing,
Yeah.
and I had them on the call for like 1 hour 10 minutes, which is
Mm.
very long for a medical.
Yeah.
I've had SSA on for nearly 2 hours. No, so it's waste as much time. I know there are other scam baiters who, like they start using swear words and the call is over within like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, is to waste their time as long as possible. And I weave stories with them. I'm a good storyteller, put it that way.
Yeah. No, no doubt. I don't doubt it at all, man. How about yourself, Ishmael? What would you say? First of all, Ishmael, let me tell you, I was watching your stream just
Today, yeah.
yeah. Can I just tell you, like, I don't know if this is always John Smith, the character that you use, but when you're talking to them and you're like this, you're like, oh, yeah, I call, yeah, I know, 1969.
I love that.
And when you're reading, listen, when you're reading the numbers and you go,
Yeah. Yeah.
4-1, I honestly, dude, I don't know what it is about that. I freaking crack up every time. That can never get old to me. It's amazing, man. So
Yeah,
tell us a little bit tell us about your baiting style
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, it's no. Well, I normally use people know this mainly Rohim box, and because they know Rohim box now, so I changed to sometimes Raj Patel, and the one I do, you said the one I do like you know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll try to change voice, I say, then I make it look like I also try to do like African accent or something, and also try to
Okay.
US, that US African, them types of, so then I try to, but it does work sometimes, not always, but in medical it works, yes, sometimes. And usually I say, then that's why I changed my name into John Smith, then I say, I'm John Smith. And I also try to make it not too clear, so confuse them when they ask me same question. This is what I try to do.
Right.
And sometimes it works, and I also love it as well when I see it's working. And it's a kind of like I'm quite surprised sometimes they stay on the call in ages,
Yeah.
and I do mess with them like that, and it's quite fun to do that. This is,
Dude, like I told you, man, honestly, I cannot stop laughing every time. Like anytime I hear the numbers one is the one that gets me because you add the 11 in there sometimes,
yeah,
but when you're like five,
yeah,
it just, dude, I don't know what it
yeah,
is about that sound. It just sounds so damn funny to me. But
yeah.
Dr. Fell wants to know, has the donkey been out of the barn lately?
It's been a while now. It's not been out yet. Yeah, because I'm trying different technique now. I tried to do 404 getaway. Message came up. I'm trying to do different technique to keep them in the call longer because I'm not using VM origins. That's why.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, man. So a question for you, Ray. You use bots and call flutters. So for those of us that are out there, like I told you before we got started, that are the most like technically unsavvy people, in layman's terms, can you explain um, like why bots and call flooding is effective in your opinion when you're dealing with scammers?
Okay, so the reason why I created my micro flutter is what I call it. I have 20 virtual machines, which if you need to know what a virtual machine is, it's a computer running inside of your computer. So I have 20 of them, and each one has the ability to take a command to call a scammer number. Once it makes the call, it waits for the scammer to start speaking, and it's based on several criteria. I might tell it to dial and wait 16 seconds before it starts to listen for spoken words. Once it hears the scammer pick up and say, hello, welcome to Microsoft, or what have you, it'll then pick a random sound out of 80, which the scammer commonly will immediately hang up on. Some of them hang on to listen to it. It's kind of funny, but they very rarely hang on for more than 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why I think it's effective is by the time that a particular scammer gets the third robot call, they no longer say, "Hello, welcome to Microsoft." They just say, "Hello," and they wait. And then they say, "Hello," again, and then my robot plays a sound to them. By the fourth or fifth time, they flat out just answer the phone and say, "Hello," really quietly, because my robot won't play the sound. So they'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh, Microsoft, welcome to Microsoft." That's like that.
Hmm.
And then that's when I'll sometimes take over manual control and just play it for them anyway. Now, by and large, what my Autobot Flutter does is throughout the week, when the tech scammer pop-ups show up, I'll commonly scan a particular URL, and the second a pop-up occurs, I'll throw 3 robots at it, and generally I can tell if they only have like 3 people working the line, because the third robot or the fourth robot will go directly to voicemail.
Okay.
What will typically happen is I'll keep harassing them with that number, and then I'll increase the number of bots. The kind of formula I use is use enough bots to where one of them goes to voicemail all the time. I then tell that bot to leave a voicemail. Okay, and then they all dial, and I keep refreshing that URL, and usually within 1 to 3 minutes, that URL is dead. And then often the number will get parked, it won't go anywhere, or they'll immediately hang up. I test dial it with a cell phone that I've bought just for testing numbers.
Okay.
Often the number will be disconnected. That's when I know I've had an effect. But its primary purpose for the scammer pop-up is to drive them so insane that they decide to pull the ad, so it no longer produces a pop-up. And
Gotcha.
I generally, throughout a productive day, this past week hasn't been because I haven't seen any pop-ups. I will eliminate anywhere from 3 to 5 pop-ups that run if I catch them early enough.
Yeah.
The other use for my Flutter is the robocalls. So I'll get a Social Security robocall, and if they leave a number to call back, I will then hit them up with 3 bots to dial the number. I keep increasing the number until I get all circuits are busy. And then I keep those robots continuously calling them, sometimes for as long as 6 hours, testing it out with my cell phone. All circuits are busy. All circuits are busy. In some cases, I might have 15 robots dialing them all the time. The times when my robot really doesn't help is when I'm calling a call center that has like 80 agents, and I'm just barely scraping them. Or like yesterday, I flooded out a Social Security scammer that parked their number for about 30 minutes and then started using it again. So under those cases, I'll bot them for an hour. They'll shut their number down for 30 minutes. Once they start answering again, I start botting them again. I just keep at it until they finally. I've had some that never give up. They just all day long. I've botted some Social Security scammers for as much as 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
what's really funny, and I know I have an effect because I don't just simply send the flood out to them. Every 20 minutes, I make a phone call to that number. I'll stop a bot to free up a line, and I'll talk to the scammer. How do you like getting screamed at? How do you like the animal sounds? I had a couple occasions. One of them begged me to stop my robot and offer me money, and I said no. I go, no, I'm going to keep at this. But I actually got into an email communication with 2 young scammers who worked in a Social Security scam center, and they told me that their employers required them to answer the phone within 2 rings, and if they didn't do that 3 times, they lost their job that day.
Oh wow.
So he told me they were seated in their little cubicle with just the phone. They would answer it, it would get screamed at. So they got to the point where they'd answer the phone and then hold it away from their ear while my robot screamed. They then hang up and wait for the call again, and then pick it up, wait for the scream. He said I had some of them doing that for like 5 hours straight. He said I gave them some pretty big headaches.
Nice.
So,
Right on. Cool. So I like personally I've never used a call flutter or bots. So I like that. All that stuff is very foreign to me. But you know what you're doing, man. So keep doing what you're doing, because if it's effective, keep doing it. As far as the two fellas here on the bottom, Mukesh and Ishmael, YouTuber wants to know, for those living in the UK, why do you call US scammer numbers? Are there no like real scams, I guess, happening in the UK?
No, we do get calls in, but very far and few in between. And the other thing is using text now, using Bob RTC, you can dial, US numbers for free.
Ah,
So
okay.
in the UK, you rarely. And the other thing, point I'd like to make is, uh, most of these scammers in the UK call your home number, so they know your identity. From your
Gotcha.
home number, they know where you live and they know your identity. So you got to be very careful about what you are. Normally, I don't even respond to them. Whereas on text now or Bob RTC, you're anonymous.
Gotcha.
So that's the reason.
Okay. Now, speaking of Bob RTC, Ishmael,
Yes,
you have a bot on Bob RTC. Is that correct?
yes, I do.
All right. So how did that come about for you, and how did it feel for you to like have, not a lot of people on there have their own like little bot, right? So how did
Yeah.
how did that come about? How did that make you feel?
No, no. I feel okay, great to the Bob to put that on there. It's when people can use it, people do use, and then sometimes I hear people as well uploading YouTube and all that. Yes,
Hmm.
and well, I'm happy that the Bob choose me as well. So
And I think originally Jack Burton had something to do with that, creating
Jack
the
Button.
soundboard. Yep. And the TNA uses Ishmael's soundboard as well on scammers.
Oh, right on. So now let's talk about this. Diana makes a really good point here. She said, "I heard someone say this past week that scam baiters are ineffective because they do nothing in the way of reporting. I beg to differ with him. I know Ray does what he can. So, how often do you guys find yourself reporting, let's say, sites or phone numbers as much as you possibly can? What do you? How often do you guys do that?
Well, I do a tremendous amount of reporting. Um, if it's a tech pop up, I'll typically take, if they're busy enough, I'll take that number and report it to the carrier.
Okay.
But I don't just report it. I put a message in if it's an email saying, I don't want you to just down the number. I want you to look at the relationship you have with this organization and don't let them get another one. See, that's just it. They'll go to another VoIP provider.
Right.
Um, when scammers remote into my PC, I have Wireshark and soon Glass Ceiling or Glass, some kind of other network product analyzer. I can
Mhm.
get their public IP. I then have a team of researchers that I work with in Discord. They immediately start scanning that IP for vulnerabilities in the hopes that we can find a weakness and break into something. Um, we also can find out who their internet provider is, and we've started reporting them to their ISP. So that's another big step. ISPs, I take it in India, are not easy to find because a lot of them use the same ones. So we do a combination of that type of reporting. The other kind of reporting I do is if I do gain access to their computer, like through AnyDesk,
Mhm.
or if they download my back door, I look for customer numbers, like spreadsheets with customers that they've scammed.
Mhm.
And then I have people that will call, and I also call these people to let them know that they can get their money back if they use a credit card or a bank account. We've tried sending numbers to the FBI, but they don't do anything about it. It's a
Yeah.
shame, but law enforcement on both sides of the ocean will not do a dang thing. So
Yeah.
the only way to really report them is, like, for example, um, if I want to and they want me to wire money to them, I'm going to pressure them to let me wire to a U.S. bank as opposed to the mule accounts they use in Bangkok. Because if it's a U.S. bank, I can possibly report the mule to their own bank. That's an example of reporting that I plan to do.
Cool. How about yourself, Mukesh and Ishmael? Do you guys get a chance to report many things at all?
Firstly, I think reporting is fruitless. You kill one, 10 more will rise.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, and what do authorities really do about that? And from what I understand, even in India, if you report it to the local police, they're all being paid off by the scammers. So
Yeah.
scamming will never stop, no matter what you do, no matter how many numbers you report.
Yeah.
There's
That's
always a
not.
way around that.
Yeah, it's
So,
very it's unfortunate.
yeah. Another question would be, why is not the U.S. government doing anything about it? They don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so our mission as scam baiters is to at least make a dent. But we won't stop it, but we can make a dent in it.
Right. It's like we won't be able to stop just because there's so many of them,
You,
right?
you
Like
can't. Yeah,
it's yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't stop it. It's like a cancer. You leave one cell alive, and it will spread again.
Yeah. I know that
So
one time I tried to report a number to Text Now, and it was like an African grant scammer, and I was like, hey, this person, like, I sent them a message on Twitter. By the way, guys, I think a really good way to report stuff is on Twitter. To if you're gonna report anything, like I reported a bank account that a scammer was telling me to send money to, and I sent that bank a DM saying like, "Hey, I have some information." And I sent them the screenshot of the what the scammer had asked, and they came back and said, "Thank you so much. We passed it on to like our fraud department," and I followed up with the victim, and they basically told me apparently someone reported my account and they got it taken care of for me. I didn't want to say it was me that reported it, but yeah, I had. So I see that sometimes like with certain like banks will do stuff. Text Now, I found Text Now was just ridiculous. They're like, well, if they're just
Yeah.
messaging you, just don't reply back to them. And it's like, no, like this is a scammer. You know, you need to like shut the number down or whatever. But they're just gonna make a new Text Now account anyway. But you know, it's just some way, I guess, to slow them down somehow. But you're absolutely right. I feel sometimes when I'm like trying to report something, it's like, I don't know. But
Well, we
it's like fighting a losing battle, really. So
I went,
all we can do is continue our mission and don't be put off. And I would suggest people in chat who are interested in scam baiting, then you should try it. It will help. We create a bigger army. And if you're unsure, I'm sure Dale will help you out on how to start.
there's lots of people, man. Yeah, there's absolutely. I think you know, to scammer paybacks comment here, everyone needs to be a scam baiter.
yeah.
You know, it's as many people as feel comfortable, and as long as you're being smart about the way you're doing it, I 100% agree. You know, calling them, the more people that we have calling, the better, the better, the better, the better. Because if we don't, oh man, it sucks, man. It really feels like we're kind of fighting a losing battle, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I want to mention that two things. Scammers are real quick to call you a prank, and there's a reason for that because we do
mhm.
have an effect. But the other one is Jim Browning had a statistic up that said his particular call center that he peered into, 40% of the calls were scam baiters. That means
Wow,
I mean, that's an astonishing number.
that's
And
great.
I just know from my own experience, they are so quick. In fact, many of them, the first thing they look for is whether or not you're running a virtual machine. And that's because they suspect every call might be a scam baiter.
Hmm.
So I think that's something to note. But
And
yeah,
can I just add one more thing?
of
We in
course.
the West, we introduced uh, scam baiters to that technology by outsourcing our calls. So they have the technology now,
Right.
but we gave it to them, and they're using it against us. Yeah, but before outsourcing calls started, India didn't have that technology. or the methods, but we introduce them.
Yeah,
And that access to your credit cards, through companies, legitimate companies, that
yeah.
access to your information. And if you look back in history, some of the credit card details were sold.
I wonder. See, and I wonder if that's still the case. Like, I wonder if, for example, let's say I called some support last week. Oddly enough, it was an Indian guy that answered, and so
Yeah,
I was like, because I call so many that I was like, oh man, right? Like, so I was listening to the guy, and he told me his real name, which was cool. Like, I heard him say his real name. It was a cable. It was my cable company. They had called me. I missed the call. I called them back, and then it was whatever. So I had a chance to speak with him, but I wonder how many of like these legit companies, like my cable company, for example, is outsourcing this stuff out to India or even like the Philippines, for example. And
yeah,
then those call centers could possibly also be selling that information to the scam call centers, right?
correct.
Because sometimes I used to wonder, I was like, how is it that they can call up people like, and they have everyone's numbers? Like, there has to be some way. I'm wondering if there is a way, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Is there a way you think that we can figure out a way that legitimate businesses like my cable company is outsourcing to India, and which companies are doing that? And if there's like a petition that could be started to reduce that, because obviously we know information is getting sent out to them.
No, but that has happened there because I was in the insurance and finance industry, and
Mm-hmm.
the insurance companies majority outsourced claims to India.
Okay.
Okay, then the performance of the Indian customer services was so bad that they brought most of the calls back into the UK. But the fact is, we gave them the technology and the information. I mean, if somebody rings my home number, where did they get my number from? How do they know I'm with Virgin Media, for instance? Because
Well,
somebody's given them the information.
well, I've come
So,
across. I came across a scammer that had a spreadsheet that showed three cash loan websites,
yeah,
and we visited those websites, and then the data that was in the spreadsheet matched the fields that were in the fill out form on the cash loan.
Hmm.
And I could tell right off the bat that this scammer had gotten data from that website. Okay, and there was a place you go to do a cash loan. We were stunned because the spreadsheet showed how often they got paid. It showed
Really?
it showed their daytime job, the name of the company they worked for. I mean, how does the
Wow.
scammer get that info? And then it dawned on us. We looked at the referring URL, and it was a cash loan application. So I'm talking the spreadsheet had over 500 names and addresses on it. So to me, that tells me I don't know if they're buying them from these cash loan places or if the cash loan places are using it to make extra money. We've spotted several Facebook groups that exchange and share phone numbers right on Facebook. Oh,
Wow.
well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. And one of the comments that I made is like, let's not bring attention to the fact that we know that it's a public group, for example, right? Because it's
yeah.
open and everyone like can go in there and see these guys are trying to exchange information on how to scam people. So it's like, man, yeah, I don't know, man.
Well, I just laugh because Facebook is known, same with Twitter, for censoring certain things, you
Hmm.
know, but they don't seem to have a problem with scammers operating full operations through Facebook. I mean,
Yeah.
they actually hire scammers through Facebook ads.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, and I've reported them to Facebook, and Facebook said, "Yeah, we'll look into it."
Hmm.
But it's the same problem. I might be reporting something that will just be undone and redone somewhere else. It's like you're saying, it is a losing battle, but it's one that we're getting a firm hold on. I think the biggest tool we have is public awareness.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
because I went to do a phone rescue. It's what I call the intervention, where I go to quote save a customer before they get scammed.
Yep.
And within 2 minutes, I just was laughing with this client, with this person, because she was not going to let them remote into her machine. So she was fully armed. She said, I've seen my mom get scammed so many times. I want them to call me because I'm going to put them in their place. That's what the lady
Yeah.
told me. I'm
Yeah.
like, so that's an educated person.
Yeah, for sure. Now, YouTuber asked a question here. He says, "What experience do you have of the scammer talking to you about their experience or why they're doing what they're doing?" So, I actually have a video or two, I think, that are coming up where I have like a heart to heart, I guess, with one of the scammers, and he's like, "Are you gonna put this on YouTube?" And I said, "No," but I will. Um, and he still texts me once in a while. Just he sends me motivational quotes, which is the funniest thing, right? But I have quite a bit of experience. Like in my earlier times when I started scam baiting, I did have a few times where I spoke with scammers and would ask them like, "Why do you do this, man? You know, blah blah blah." And I try to give them like options for people to go do other things. But Ishmael, do you have any experience with this kind of stuff, man? Where you talk to a scammer about them being scammers and them wanting to maybe leave, or any heart to hearts, I guess, about their experience?
Uh, occasionally, I remember the. Yeah, I had there was a one tech support refund when in the last minute when I say donkey is fucking you up the ass and all that. Then he did said he didn't swear back or anything. After a while, he said, I appreciate what you do and blah blah." And then he said he wanted my number and he can call sometime and talk to me and so on. So and on that time I didn't have text now or anything like that. So I didn't. But and sometime I have come across uh, uh, a lady as well. But it depends. We don't know are they telling us the truth or not. They said that they don't really want to do that. But again, I think it's all. It could be lying. I don't know because I personally don't trust them. And there are a few say they didn't know it's a scam. But again, a few say they're just in. There was the one girl I remember, SSA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she said she's in Bombay or something, but in the beginning they were well triggered. It was a triggered number, so I was just calling them, messing with them. The girl eventually said that she only is here for the lockdown, and after the lockdown finish, she will leave that, find a job, and so and so. But again, we don't know are they telling us the truth or not. These
Right.
things has happened. Yes.
Yeah, we kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Now, Mukesh, do you speak Hindi or Bengali?
I don't speak Bengali, but I do
Okay.
know a bit of Hindi. I know some Gujarati, and
Okay.
the language I used to speak in Africa is Kiswahili, or Swahili as you call it,
Yeah, yeah.
and English. But Bengali, I'm not. I think it's Urdu. I think Ishmael speaks Bengali, so I'm not too familiar with that.
Okay, because I was
And
gonna ask
Punjabi.
you, if you yourself being Indian, if you've ever like spoken in Hindi to a scammer and just like
Yes.
said,
Oh,
"Oh,
yes, yes,
tell
yes,
tell us
yes,
about it.
yes.
Tell us about it."
Yeah. But the thing is, if it's recording, I mean, most people wouldn't understand it, so you need subtitle. But I aim for the same thing: is ask them why do they do what they do.
Hmm.
I also dig into their conscience and say, what you are doing is ruining the name of Indians worldwide, and that does hit them. And then, as Ismail says, they say, oh, because of lockdown, they're doing this. But as soon as lockdown is finished, they'll move on, which is absolute rubbish.
Hmm.
But they try and act the poor boy. There's no jobs in India, money.
Yeah.
And I keep telling them that you can't scam people just because you don't have money. I said, those people you're scamming from, they work hard. Some of them have to hold two, three jobs to survive.
Some of them for their whole lives.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, you come along and take $200-300 off somebody, but to them it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it does. They do say that they'll stop it and they understand, but it's all lies. A scammer is a scammer.
100%, dude. Man, like Joe
It's
Scambit.
easy
Look,
money. Yeah,
look, Joe
it's easy
Scambit.
money
Look,
for
look.
them.
Joe Scambit says, "Here, here," and I agree 100%. Right? It is 100% true, man. I truly do believe that they could do other things. Some of them have really good English, man. Like
Yeah,
some
they
really
do.
good English. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing with your life that you're doing what you're doing? Like it's frustrating. It's so frustrating, to hear that kind
Is there,
of.
yeah, there is the same conversations I've had with them. So once I post my videos or my audio, then you'll understand what
Mhm.
they say to me.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see if I want to open it up and see if anybody has any other questions in the chat. Um, just so that way we can ask any questions you might want. If not, I do know. Is there anything else you guys wanted to share or discuss about? Yes, Joe, this is live, buddy. So feel free. I know this is the first time I've done it live, so I completely get it. A lot of people are like, "Is this live? Is this live?" I never do these live, so yes, it's live. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, Mark and I has a question here. Does anyone have any idea why the scammer would want to talk to the police/marshal who's arresting Rush Patel? I'm assuming that's a question for
Yes, yes.
Ishmael.
That he's talking about me. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He does arrest me in the SSA call.
Yeah. All right. I think okay. T Hunter wants to know who is Makesh's favorite scam baiter. You don't have to
Oh,
answer that if you don't feel comfortable, man. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Um, let's see here. So Blast or you have this question here. What got you guys into scam baiting? We kind of covered that at the very beginning of the live. So feel free to check it back to the very beginning to see that. This was a good question. What's the most creative insult you've had from a scammer? The most creative, because let's face it, most of them would just swear at you and say something about your mama, which reminds me, which is why I did the yo mama video, because they're always talking about your mama, your mama. I'm like, all right, let's do a yo mama video. So what would be the most creative insult you've had from a scammer? And if you can keep it clean, that would be great. If not, okay.
I would
Well,
say I had one
go ahead.
scammer and I had one scammer insult the fact that scammers can do what they can do and that America can't and won't do anything about it. So he was a knowledgeable scammer. He says, I'm just doing it because I know I can get away with it. He goes, no one's going to stop me
Mm,
because I love it. And I was like, shame on you. I go, I don't ever want to meet you, but I'll do everything I can to stop you. He goes, you
yeah.
can't. We're elusive. And I said, I have your public IP. And he goes, who cares? And he's right. Who
Wow.
cares? Yeah. I mean, some of these scammers, I've had a few that had doctorates in computer science, and they give me that spiel. They can't find a job.
But
And I
was it
said, okay,
real doctorates though,
yeah.
or one of those ones that you get from the African scammers that send you like these fake
This,
docs and stuff like that? You know?
these were people. These were folks before my live stream days. I still get a couple that might be, but I had one guy that knew quite a bit about networking.
Hmm.
And I had to ask him, I said, why are you doing scamming? What's the point? I go, you could be making a lot more money because I go, you can become Cisco certified based on what you're telling me. He goes, I know. I said, something's not clicking right. So I have a good friend who travels between India and Salt Lake City, Utah. And he said, the reason why they're getting these jobs is because they can get the job without an interview. They pay under the table and they're anonymous. And they always tell themselves, not all of them, but a lot of them tell themselves they can quit at any time. But he says the real reason is because they're lazy. They don't want to go to a job interview. And so I often will tell them that. I go, you just need to put your hard work in. And I've helped them write resumes. And I
Wow.
said, I go, you're doing the wrong resume. You don't go to a job that's basically a bookseller and brag about your computer skills. You got to take a resume that's going to appeal. And I've actually helped a few get jobs.
Right on, man. How about yourself,
So,
Mukesh? Any creative, I guess, insults you've gotten or
No, no,
no?
because the reason is
No.
normally they will come at you in Hindi, which, as you say, is your mother,
Yeah.
your sister, your
Yeah.
daughter, and never
Yeah.
the father. If you notice, it's never the father.
No, but they tell you that they're your daddy though.
No, no, but it's not an insult to your father.
I
So
know, I
whatever they
know.
give me, I give them back like 10 times over, because I understand what. And then they get shocked, and then they
Yeah,
get more riled up. But it's a repetition of this because they know they've been found out and they've met their match. Whereas if they were to tell you that, for instance, they'll use words you might not understand.
right.
Whereas I would, most of the words, not all, but most of it.
Hmm.
And I've actually got a friend who is from Bombay in India. So I get some feedback from him. So what I don't understand, he'll explain to me what it means. So
Nice.
I think when they meet me, it's a different because I'm Arthur Dent, and then suddenly I'm speaking to them in Hindi, and then they get a shock.
Yeah, I'm sure that's. I wish I could speak Hindi. I might have to learn.
It's
You
Dude,
must
easy,
that's
show.
bro.
that's
Told
uh
you it's
that's
easy. It's
it's really
easy.
it's really cool that you do. Ishmael, you speak Hindi as well, or
Yeah.
Bengali?
Well, my first language is Bengali. I can speak full Hindi and Urdu as well,
Wow,
and English. That's it.
I'm learning so much about you, man. Have you had any creative insults from them, or not really?
Uh, I know one day I had one. I can't remember when. It's been a while actually. I was, it was Sunday. I was live, and in Sunday it's not easy to get scammers. So
Yeah, yeah,
I wasn't doing that well. And then at the end of the day, before I leave, I called one tax support refund, and I said, straight away, I said to him, "You are a gandu chutia," and then he straight away went triggered, and he started just like the way you said.
yeah.
It
Just
starts,
mom,
yeah, mom,
sister, all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he said, uh, "I am your dad," and blah blah, and all this, and he went on for about 27 minutes. You get me, and then 27 minutes, blah, 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 and then at the end he said, that tech support scammer, they call you. We didn't call you, and then it said blah blah, blah and he went on, and it was a what? Like I said, the last part was good. And
yeah,
absolutely triggered. I had that was the mad one I ever heard.
yeah.
Yeah.
DJ Craze has this interesting question. He says, "How many times do you
Yeah.
guys run up against a scammer who's actually trying to waste your time so the others in the call center can still get victims?" I was thinking about this. I think this is something that is actually being implemented by scam call centers. I do believe that they're purposely trying to find who are the baiters and have like one guy who just deals with the baiters, or a team of people who just deal with the baiters while the other team are, you know, running the scam and whatnot, right? So that it keeps us busy from talking to other people. I do think that's something that's happening. I don't know what your guys' thought is on that.
I think I've seen a few do that, and that's some of what inspired my Autobot because I'm not just wasting that scammer's time. I'm also calling them with my Autobot, and
Mm,
so I actually remember telling one said he says I knew you were scamming me this whole time, and I always say, well, if your boss knew, then he's going to know you're an underperformer, so you probably shouldn't say that. But he didn't seem to care, and I thought, well, maybe he's wasting my time. So it's wouldn't be a surprise. That's what I would do if I was running a scam. I would have what I call honeypot scammers,
Yeah.
where they are there just to take in the likes of Paul, Mukesh, and Ismail.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
But also there, look, if you make 10, 15-minute calls,
mm-hmm.
uh, then in between they might pick up a real person. So it's difficult. You can have one person on the line for a couple of hours. At least you've stopped him from receiving any further calls.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Is it,
that's a good point.
there is no, there's no short calls, and so
Well, a
it's
lot of these
difficult.
scammers make a percentage. A lot of scammers make a percentage of their take. So that's always been my take. I go, yeah, I'm wasting. Well, I've always thought that if they are wasting my time, that's that scammer's losing out because
Yeah.
unless they give them a cash reward for wasting their time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they do that. I mean, I watch a lot of Jim Browning videos, and they literally go to work and they get free food, they get cash payment at the end of their day, and scammers who are rewarded are the ones that can close more, speak that good English. So there are some scammers that are real. They do make good money.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that you'd have scammers that do what DK was describing.
Yeah. Nigel says Lewis's tech used to talk to sidekicks to keep him busy. So that's definitely something that some people say this is not something that the scammers are doing, and some people say this is something that the scammers are doing. Either way, as long as we're calling and wasting their time as much as possible, I think that's it's good work. Blastdoor says, have you ever got one to leave the scamming business? I know SB is in the process with one. So have any of you had any chats with people about getting them to leave scamming? I mean, we all, I guess, get that, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm leaving next week. This is my last week, blah, blah, blah. But have any of you ever followed up with anyone to see, hey, yeah, like I actually am no longer a scammer? I don't know if any of you, I haven't. So
No, but
I've helped
you can't. Sorry, Paul.
That's cool. I've had two people get jobs. I helped one write a resume. It's called a functional resume because they were
yeah.
afraid to say that they used to work for this company because everybody knew they were scamming. I have two gentlemen right now that I'm emailing links on how to learn LAMP stack programming because they want to get out of, they don't want to be social security scammers. And I've hooked them up to the company I work for because they spoke English really good. So I
Okay.
might have a third and fourth one, but I jump on it. The trigger for me is if the scammer in any way, shape, or form admits that they're doing something wrong. I then throw out my private email on live on my stream saying, email me here, and if you do, I'll give you some information. They don't do it as much as they wish they would,
Yeah.
but I have had a few. Um, but I don't get as many as I wish. I wish
Yeah.
more would be responsive.
Mukesh, yourself?
Yes, I've had two or three people saying they'll leave within a couple of days, but how do I keep track with them?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Um, One thing I will mention, I had through Discord with TNA.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to somebody and he predicted. He said, "I'll let you into a secret." It was like we had four long conversations because the phone got cut off. Anyway, in March next year, he said there's a new scam coming out with the iPhones.
Really?
So he said, yeah, he said, watch out for that. He actually gave a specific date, 3rd of March. That there's a new scam coming out for the iPhone users. He obviously didn't go into detail. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know.
It's crazy.
So they always improvise. I mean, if you go to the SSA, it's always the same thing. South border of Texas, Toyota Corolla, blood residue and drug residue, and it's always the same spiel going on and on and on. So are these people so thick? Are they so stupid to keep repeating the same thing again and again? I mean, do Toyota Corollas even exist now? I don't think other
Uh,
models.
I actually owned a Toyota Corolla, so when they say Toyota
Ah,
Corolla, it just takes me back to when I owned one. I'm like, yeah. So
yes,
sometimes I
yes,
do
but
want to say yes, but
why south border of Texas? Why can't it be
I,
in LA? Why can't it be in New York? Why always the? Because they're reading a
I don't
script,
know. Yeah, they're all
and
yeah,
that's
reading
so
this.
I've actually talked to one about it. I said, why don't you just, if it were me working it, I tell them, if I were you, I would say, dude, that car was in North Dakota, all right? But that was in Brooklyn, New York. Thing was jacked tires and everything, but we found the drugs, you know. But I've had so much
Yeah.
fun with them,
Yeah,
that
Yeah, but one guy I said to him, you know what? Give it to your supervisor. Supervisor came on, so I said, look, I can improve your grammar and I can improve the way you talk. Yeah, I can write you a new script only if you pay me $100,000. And he put the phone down.
well, I had one of them. I asked them, what year is this Toyota? And they said 2012. And I go, they rented a 2012 car? What?
Yeah.
I
yeah.
go, dude, that car's 8 years old. Why would a
I,
rental car?
I find of all the scam baits or scams, I guess, I find the SSA one is probably the one that I feel the most confident with keeping them on the phone for a very long time.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because it involves the driving to the bank, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it just opens it up for so many possible situations where where that's going. So it's just so easy, that one, to really keep them on the phone for as long as possible. I only find that if you push it too hard, especially with one that speaks decent English, then you lose them, right? Like if you just if you just push it a little too hard, then it's like, yeah, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's kind of dumb, but
Yeah, but, yeah, there is the story you weave, like the one I'm saying, the 2 hour call with SSA.
mhm.
Um, I didn't drive anywhere. I walked to the bank, and the stone acted as the clock, bank clock. So you don't have to drive anywhere. Yet you can keep them on for 2 hours. And in the beginning, he was very rough and very aggressive and demanding, the official type. But towards the end, he started telling me about his wife, about his life, blah, blah, blah. The 2 hour call
Wow.
and no driving involved.
Yeah. Nigella says SSA scam calls can last several days, and it's pretty much true. But all right, guys. So we're gonna end here. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I left Monopole Huckers link in the description. Same with Mukesh, aka SWAT, in the description below. Scamming with a twist. And Ishmael Ali's link is also in the description down below. I believe next we have Little Piece, who's going to be having a premiere. So be sure to go check that out. Little Piece, if you want to put that link to your premiere in the description or in the chat, that would be great as well. But I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this very first live Clickbait. It's the longest episode we've ever had. Thank you guys for all your inputs and your comments and your everything that you guys are doing to help us spread awareness. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, please feel free to subscribe to all scam baiters that you want to support. Everyone has their different style, and if you don't like some, that's fine. There's always others that you will like. So feel free to support who you'd like to support. I appreciate you guys coming today, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care, guys. Bye for now.